Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samprabha Nirvignam Guru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Mukti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So we are seeing the slokas relating to Nididhyasana. And Adi Shankara, of course, in a very, very precise or concise form, is giving us some tips as to how we should do Nididhyasanam, on what we should do Nididhyasanam. And in the last sloka, he even went to the extent of explaining, we should sit and, sort of a reference to the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vivikta Desham and all that, a calm and quiet place. But that's only the starting point. Once you have got into the, what we call within bracket, the groove, then Nididhyasanam is a constant thing running in the back of your mind. In fact, for many people, those who have learnt Veda mantras, they would have experienced this. Initially, when you learn the mantras, what happens is, even when you are not chanting the mantras keep on going in your mind. This you will realize. Suppose somebody is doing the Gayatri mantra upasana for 1008 Gayatris. It does upasana. What will happen the rest of the day? The same pattern of the Gayatri mantra will be going on in the mind. You just keep on circulating the same thoughts. What we call that pravaha, vritti pravaham will be there. Continuously the thought will be there. Many of us would have experienced this. So in Nididhyasanam also, once you have done that initial part of Nididhyasanam, following all the guidance given by Acharyas, and this Aham Brahmasmi vritti is fairly settled in your mind with full understanding, then automatically the thought will continue to be in the mind, and all your actions, or in fact inactions, will all be governed by that very thought. That is what we have to understand from these slokas, right? So we saw up to the 38th sloka, if I am not wrong. We will now go to the 39th sloka. Atmanyeva kilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudhihi bhavayed ekamatmanam nirmala akashavat sadha. We have not done this sloka, no?
Pannala,
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, this is continuation of Nididhyasana. Here, Acharya is actually come to the stage where he is emphasizing on the Jagan Mithyatva Buddhi. Previously, it was the positive. Aham Satyam, Aham Purnam, Aham Brahma, right? Drik Swarupa, Aham, all these things was emphasized in all the previous 4-5 slokas. Now the Drishyam part, he is emphasizing and falsifying the drishya. Remember, you should remember drishya, what we talked about earlier, right? So as long as we attribute reality to this universe, we cannot avoid strong reactions. Our reaction to everything is directly proportional to the Satyatva Buddhi we have on this entire prapancha. And reaction is both raga reaction and dvesha reaction. It includes both. On the other hand, if we understand the whole drishya prapancha as nama rupa superimposed on me, then the acceptance will be easy. For example, let us take, we lose something. Something which we have been till now considering very, very dear to us, we lose. It could be even a person. That person is lost. If we actually take that thing or that person as merely a nama rupa, what we will see is only a change in the nama rupa. This nama rupa existed, it no longer exists. But the swarupa has not gone. The swarupa of that thing or that person, which is satswarupam, existence is there. What we have lost is only the nama rupa. In fact, we're all nama rupa. Our body mind complex is all nama rupa bundles only. Now, as long as we understand this, it is okay. But once the nama rupa is given more and more reality, then it becomes difficult to accept the disappearance of that nama rupa. It applies to our body or it applies to any other body also. So the way we have to actually approach this is develop that mithyatva buddhi in the jagat. And how do you develop the mithyatva buddhi? Understanding that everything is only nama rupa matra. For example, let us take wave is a nama rupa for water in the ocean. When we go to an ocean or a sea and see the waves coming and going, do we feel bad about it? Oh, that's a beautiful wave was coming and now it has vanished. And do you sit and cry over that wave? You don't. Why? Because we are all what we call, wave gyanis. Right? We know that this wave is a nama rupa. One wave comes and goes, another wave will come and go. Like that, it goes on. The reality is water, which is right in front of me. The huge ocean is in front of me. The waves are only nama rupas. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. That we understand when we see the ocean. There we have the drishti of water only. We enjoy the waves. That does not mean that mithyatvam does not mean that you should not experience and enjoy. Enjoy the world, experience the world, no problem at all. Only thing is, don't take it to be real. Like in a magic show, we go to the magic show along with children. Whatever tricks are being performed, magic is performed by the magician. We all enjoy. In fact, sometimes we wonder also how he is doing all these things and all, isn't it? However, the magician, the biggest magician is Maya Shakti. Enjoy whatever Maya presents before you, enjoy that, no problem. But don't give it reality. Understand this Maya is nothing but Mithya. So, that understanding we need to develop, and that is a part of the Nididhyasana sadhana. It is not enough to say that Aham Brahmasmi, I am the only absolute reality, or I am the flip side also, we need to do Nididhyasanam. I am reality, but this entire world is mithya. So Jagat's, what is that? Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya has to be, both has to be meditated upon. Both these vrittis have to be meditated upon, right? So, in fact, see, Paramatma says that some sannyasis, even after becoming sannyasi, they don't understand. They have this attachment to come and do, they give reality to come and do a cow penum and all that, he gives examples of these things. So, therefore, he says, Sarvam Jagat Drishyam Atmani Eva Pravilapya. This whole creation, which is a Drishyam, that should be resolved in me. All these are technical expressions. Not resolved in me means it's not that whole world comes and enters. The resolution here means the world does not exist different from me. The world exists in me. That is what we should say. And whenever we are saying me, we are not referring to the body-mind complex. And we must keep that always in mind. Very easy to just confuse the whole thing. This understanding is what is called pravilapana. Drik vilakshanam drishyam nasti iti bhavana eva pravilapanam. Without the drik, there is no drishyam. Once you understand that, that is what is called pravilapana. For example, when you see a pot is destroyed, for normal people, destruction of pot is what? It is breaking it into pieces. That is destruction of pot. For a Vedantin, what is the destruction of a pot? Seeing the reality of the pot as clay. It is a cognitive act. He doesn't need to destroy the pot, make it into pieces. No, Vedantin doesn't need to do that. He will see the pot the same way everybody sees, but he will understand that the reality of this pot is clay and this pot is only Vacharammanam Vikaro Namadeyam. It's only a Nama Rupa which is given to clay. So to that extent, I will take this pot as a Vyavaharika reality, use the pot to cook my food or keep water, whatever it is. When the pot actually gets broken or breaks, I will not feel sad about it. Because I will think, no, I know that this was a transactional or a Vyavaharika reality. It had a name and form. And names and forms are always temporary. Today or tomorrow, one day that will go away. It will change. The name and form will change. So when the pot breaks, what remains is the clay. The drik is what is remaining. A paramarthika reality in the form of clay is remaining. And that same clay will take another shape. If not a pot, it is maybe a plate or some kettle or some other shape the same clay will take. That's all. So you will not have any sorrow or disappointment for the pot breaking. This is what is called pravilapana. The pot is resolving into clay. That is what is pravilapana. Similarly, once we understand the mithyatvam of this jagat, once we understand this whole jagat is nothing but nama rupa matram, the pravilapanam of the jagat is what? Aham brahmasmi. The whole jagat gets resolved in that aham vritti, aham brahmasmi. This is what we have to understand as pravilapana. Right? So, developing this mithyatva buddhi in the jagat is what is emphasized here. I mean, just another example which Swamiji gives. There is a hall full of mirrors. What happens when you go inside the hall, you see your own reflection everywhere. But we don't say that, oh, there are so many Ganapathis there. We don't think. We know that all are my reflections only. Isn't it? They are all Mithya Eva, appearance only. And when we come out of that hall, what happens? Pravilapanam. All those images, that reflections resolve into me. That is what happens, right? So this is how we have to understand this word pravilapanam. It is not physically merging or physically destroying and all that, cognitively understanding. That's okay. So he says, Akhilam Drishyam Atmani Eva Pravilapya. So one should resolve the entire Drishya Prapancha into one's own self. And in this, the most important word is Dhiyaha. Just note that. Dhiyaha here means wisdom. So all this Pravilapanam business exists only in one's understanding. And there is no sort of a magic or a mysticism involved. You just have to understand, that's all. In Ghata Pravilapanam, what is the mysticism? Nothing. It is just clear understanding. Wisdom alone is involved in Ghata Pravilapanam, which I just now explained, right? So, Sudhihi means a Jnani, a Viveki, right? So, a Jnani should resolve the entire objective universe, this Vyavaharika Prapancha, into him by seeing that there is no objective universe other than him. Matstani, what was that? I'm forgetting the Gita. So, anyway, thus, he says Atma. So, like that, one should meditate upon oneself. Avayas means here to meditate upon Atmanam. One should meditate upon this, vritti, this thought that Jagan Mitya, Brahma, that is Brahma Satya. Right? So once we understand that this Drishya Prapancha does not exist separate from me, then how many things are left? Only one, Ekam. That's what he says here. Isn't it? All this duality and plurality problems are coming up. And also, all the consequences of that understanding of the duality, plurality comes up in terms of our entire samsara, in terms of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, everything. Because, why? Because we are giving reality to this samsara. Once that mithyatvam is understood, then what is remaining? Only I remain. Ekam. This is what is Advaita, non-dual. Okay. Previously, when we saw the waves, there was duality or even plurality, so many waves coming and going. But when you got into the water buddhi, Satyatva buddhi in water and Mithyatva buddhi in the waves, how many things are remaining? Only water remains, only one. We have a full understanding that all these waves are nothing but Nama Rupa of that one water. These waves rise in water and get resolved in water. The waves may be of different shapes, different types, fast wave, slow wave, so many varieties you can see. But irrespective of the varieties, all waves they rise in water and they resolve in water. Similarly, this entire Jagat can have so many varieties. But all those, the rise in me and they will resolve in me because I am Brahmasmi. This is the understanding for Nirvinyasana. We have to practice. So, remember, Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, Mayi Sarvam Pratishtitam. Kaivalya Upanishad. In me alone, in me alone, everything is rising. Sakalam Jatam, everything is born out of me. Mayeva Sakalam Pratishtitam. In me alone, everything is sustained. Mayi Sarvam Mayeva Sakalam Jatam Mayi Sarvam Layam Yanti. Mayi Sarvam Layam Yanti. In me only everything gets resolved. Tat Brahma Advayam Aham Asmi. That Brahman, that Advaya non-dual Brahman Aham Asmi. Unless this particular thing is understood fully well and assimilated, Advaitam doesn't make any sense. That is the problem with other philosophies. They don't understand this subtle issue. And as I was telling you in one of the previous calls, the Visishta Advaitins also make this mistake. For them, there is Advaitam before creation, Dvaitam during creation, Advaitam after Pranaya. This is there because they are unable to accept the Mithyatvam of this entire Jagat. They don't understand this Nama Rupa concept. If you ask them, okay, you say that there was Brahman before the creation and there was only Brahman, that also they accept. There was only Brahman before creation. Ask them, then how did this creation come from? What did this creation come? They don't have an answer. Then if you say, no, this is Maya, Shakti and all that, no, there is nothing called Maya. Then you explain how this creation has come. There is nothing else other than Brahman. But creation, you require some material, there has got to be some matter. From where that matter came? The only logical answer is Brahman himself converted into this entire creation. That is the only logical answer when nothing else is there. And when Brahman is converting himself into this entire prapancha, what does it mean? From Brahman only everything has come. Brahman is the Karanam, these are all Karyam. And Karanam pervades the Karyam. All these logical Nyaya philosophy arguments or Nyaya arguments, not philosophy, Nyaya arguments doesn't appeal to them. They refuse to understand. Just refuse to understand. Just like what these farmers are doing. They made so many demands and government started considering each one. Now say, no, we have no demand. Only demand is take back all the laws. If that is the only demand, what is there to talk about? Why having so many meetings and talking? Because you are not relenting from your demand. Take back the laws. That's all. There is only yes or no for that. We will yes, take back. No, we will not take back. What is there to talk about? Similarly, if you don't have an answer, then they will say that there is nothing called Maya, all this Mithya and all invention of Adi Shankara Acharya. So this is the problem with all other philosophies other than Advaita. And Advaitam Pramanam is what? Brahma Sutra and also all our Upanishads. That is the Pramanam. So that is what he says, Ekam Atmanam Bhavaye. He says, right? And he gives an example. Nirmala Akashavat. Just like the Akasha is Nirmala. Here, Nirmalam we should take as Asangatvam, free from everything. Okay. So even though the clouds are there, they do not belong to the Akasha. Akashasya asangavat. Similarly, I am Drik, I am Satyam, and I am not connected to the Drishya Prapancha, because Drishya Prapancha is Mithya. I am Satyam. Satyam and Mithya cannot have any sambandha. And when one should meditate like this, Acharya says Sada, always, continuously. That is what it says. So I think we have seen all the words, right? Diya Sudhihi. You see, Bhavayet Ekam Atmanam Nirmala Akara. So we have seen all the words in the mantra. Now, next verse, verse 40. So, with the previous mantra, 39th sloka, the Nididhyasanam topic is over. Now, what is left? The phalam. We have seen Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. All that are over. Now, naturally, what is the result of all these sadhanas is what we have to understand. Okay. So now from this sloka onwards, we are getting to the phalam, result of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, or Jnana phalam, we can say. And what is this? He starts saying, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam. Oh, sorry. Rupa Varna. Wait, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam. Vihaya Paramarthavid. Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena Vatishtate. So he says, Nishta. So this is the phalam. What is the phalam? Nishta. Atmani Nishta, Brahmani Nishta. That is the phalam. This is what is referred to as Sthita Prajna in the second chapter of the Gita. And also in 12th chapter, he calls it Parabhakti. Bhagavan calls it Parabhakti, right? Or Gunatita, the 14th chapter. Or in our parlance, we can say Jivan Mukta. Even though Bhagavan Krishna doesn't use this word Jivan Mukta. But all mean the same thing only, right? So, from the sloka 40 onwards till the end of Atma Bodha, we are getting Jivan Mukti mainly here. Jivan Mukti mainly, and here, there, he talks about Videha Mukti, right? Somewhere in between. So, what does the Jivan Mukta do? He says, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramatmani. Paramartavit. Rupam Varnatikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramartavit. So, the subject matter of this sloka is what? Paramartavit is the subject matter. Okay. Which means what? Brahmavit. Brahmam Janati. Brahmam Veti iti Brahmavit. The one who knows Brahman is Brahmavit. Okay. So, Paramartha means Parama Artha. And here, Artha, we should take the meaning as a Vastu. Right? Because some places Paramartha may mean Parama Purushartha. Because Artha can denote Purushartha also. But here, Artha means the Vastu, the reality. Paramartha means the absolute reality. Right? And Vit means, as I told you, Veti iti Vit. Brahmavit ityartha. So, Paramarthavit is a Brahma Jnani, a person, a Jnani who knows Brahman, and he also knows Aham Brahmasmi. Right? So, Sarvam Rupa Varnadikam Vihaya. Vihaya means Tyaktva. How Tyaktva? Mithyatvat buddhya tyaktva. By understanding everything is mithya. So by that understanding, you are giving up the satyatva buddhi in those rupa varnadikam. Okay. And Yaj dhatu means sacrifice. Here the tyaktva means what? Sacrifice. So mithyatva buddhi is sacrificed in all this rupa varnadika. Because if we give up the body, it will mean death. Literally, if we give it up, right? And not only that, as long as we are there surviving in this world, it is not possible to give up anything. And why we can't do that is anybody can guess. Once we understand, we know Aham Brahma, everything exists in Brahman only. Therefore, I cannot give up anything. Everything exists in me. What I can give up? So this is how we have to very subtle point. This is how we have to understand. Tyaktva does not mean that, like a sannyasa, you are giving up things. You can't give up once you understand everything is you. How can you give yourself up? So what we have to do is just understand. That's all. The moment you understand that all these things are mithya, first you will stop giving reality to these things. You will stop taking them seriously. And any loss or any trouble that they create also, you will not take them seriously. Isn't it? So, some other example is coming to my mind, but we'll skip it. So, theoretically, sannyasa is impossible. If a sannyasi understand that Aham Brahmasmi and this entire Jagat is existing in me, so the sannyasi itself, when he takes sannyasa, is a ajnani, actually speaking. He thinks that I can take, leave everything and leave this world and all that and become a sannyasi. You can't leave anything if you understand that everything is nothing but me only, and I can't leave myself. You have to do, that Brahma Bhavam you have to give up from a point of view of, if you want to do anything, sacrifice. Then only you can get separated from everything. But you cannot give up the Brahma Bhavam because you are Brahman, that is your nature. How can you give up your nature? So Vedanta actually takes you into a very, very subtle areas. This is how we have to keep on understanding each step of this. Because logically, when you say the whole world is existing in me and then give up the world, what does it mean? Illogical. I am in and through this entire world. I am pervading this world. How can they give up that world? Only thing you can do is develop a mithyatva buddhi in the world. That is what you say, right? So, what is giving up? Tatra mithyatva buddhi eva sannyasah. That's what he says. Brahma vyatiriktaya yat kinchit vastu nasti iti drishtihi eva yathartha sannyasah. So, Swamiji gives a beautiful explanation of this. What is sannyasa? Sannyasa is not running away from the world. Sannyasa is being within the world and then treating the world as my own self. So there is nothing to be given up in sannyasa. But attitudinal changes to come. That's all. Okay. So Sarvam Vihaya, Sarvam means Rupa Varnadikam. Form, color, Varnam, all these things can be taken as, or even Varnashrama dharmas like Brahmana, Kshatriya, everything. Sarvam will include everything, all that identifications that we have developed, that Mamakara, Ahankara business with this body mind complex, Sarvam Vihaya. Vihaya again, remember, developing a Mithyatva Buddhi in all of them. That is what it means, right? So, Varnam, Jati, Kulam, all those things Vihaya. Then what does one do? Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena. Paripurna Chit and Paripurna Ananda. Avatishtate. Avatishtate means he abides. And every word, very, very loaded words. We have to understand them very, very carefully. This does not mean that sitting in one corner, Avatishtate means sitting in one corner, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, abiding in Brahma. That does not mean, we have to carefully understand. Because if you actually think a little deeper, everybody is abiding in Brahman only. Isn't it? Nobody is separate from Brahman. Nobody can be separate from Brahman. Brahman is in and through everything, everybody. Brahman is not confined to one corner so that you go sit there, close your eyes, sit in Padmasana and do Nididhyasana. And then you become a jnani. When you confront the Buddhists, you ask, they say that he sat under the Bodha Vriksha and Buddha became enlightened. And now you ask this question to him: what is the enlightenment he got? Did he understand that he was Brahman? So what is the enlightenment he got? They have their own views of that enlightenment. Anyhow. So abiding in Brahman means not forgetting the knowledge that I am Brahman. Jnana avismritihi eva nishtha. Keep on remembering. This knowledge should keep on coming to our mind continuously. Not forgetting, this is alone called nishtha. When any problem comes, because only when the problem comes, Vedanta becomes relevant, right? Anyhow, I'm just saying that we should not forget this, especially when there are no problems, and also when there are problems of any kind. We should not forget. And we get this word nishtha from this word avatishtate, right? And Lord Krishna talks about this in the second chapter. Yesha brahmi stitah partha nainam prapya vimuhyati. He says, Arjuna, such is the state of a God-realized soul. A soul which has understood himself to be Brahman. That a person has given up all desires and moves around from attachment, egoism, and thirst for enjoyment. And once having reached the state, he overcomes all delusion. And this na vimukhyati is what connotes jnana avasmriti. Yati means forgotten, na vimukhyati means he never forgets Vedanta. Na vimukhyati, that's what it says. Yeah. So Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramarthavit Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena Avatishtate. Right. So that's why he talks about, right? So Paripurna Chit, Paripurna Ananda Swarupa Aham Eva. Right. That is what this sloka says. So this is the phalam of the first phalam of this jnanam, which is he will develop after having done this nididhyasanam successfully. The jnani will develop nishtha in that knowledge of aham brahmasmi. So next we will see the 41st sloka. Jnatri-jnana-jnaya bhedah parenatmani vidyate chidanandaika rupatvat dipyate swayamevahi. So in the previous sloka, he said paramartha vit, right? Paramartham veti iti paramartha vit. That's what he said. Means a jnani who knows Brahman, who knows that he is Brahman, right? Not just knows Brahman, who knows Aham Brahmasmi. Right? So it's just like Brahmavit and all. There's so many words, Shastra use. And here, as I said, if it is said that a jnani is one who knows Brahman, immediately the orientation will be that Brahman is an object and jnani knows this object. Jnani is the subject and Brahman is an object. And knowing is the instrument. Pramatra, Pramana, Prameya, Triputi, Aghata. So what? Movement this happens, Dvaitam will walk in happily with both the hands, freely, what's that, waving. You get into Triputi. The moment you say, Jnani knows Brahman. So, the word knowledge is used. If the word knowledge is used, it can create a problem. Excuse me. So, Acharya here says, knowledge is only a word which we use because we want to say that he does not have ignorance. That is what? We are not using knowledge in the sense of gaining something. We are using the word jnanam in the sense of removal of ignorance. So you can define a jnani not as one who knows Brahman, but a jnani is one who does not have any ignorance about Brahman. He has no ignorance about Brahma Swarupa. That fellow is a jnani. Not ajnani is jnani. That's how we have to understand. Who is a jnani? Who is not an ajnani? He is a jnani. Who is a ajnani? He does not know the nature of Brahman. So he is ignorant about the nature of Brahman. Jnani is one who is not ignorant about the nature of Brahman. So when we are saying Brahman Janati and all that, the word Janati and all, we must understand in this sense that he has no ignorance about Brahman. He is a Jnani. Right? Because the moment we say getting the knowledge, gaining the knowledge, attaining Brahman, all these, immediately Brahman will be objectified in our mind. And that's the problem which exists rather, because even after listening to the Shastras, people have this misconception that Brahman is something which you need to achieve, to reach. All Shravanam, Mananam and all done, still that orientation doesn't go. And even after understanding that Brahman is nothing to be reached, still they will ask the question, when will I get Brahman? When will I get moksha? Moksha means I become Brahman. When will I become Brahman? I have done Nididhyasanam and all. Now what is left for me to become? It's the problem. Because that Ajnanam has not gone away. The ignorance of what exactly the Brahman is. Even when he says Aham Brahmasmi, what he actually means and understand, there is a element of ignorance. So when we are going further and further in Vedanta, in this Mahavakya Vichara, these kind of things will all have to be understood in a very, very subtle way. These are all very subtle concepts. In fact, normally our mind will not even go to these things. And that is why, we have to learn from a guru. If we read, we won't be able to make out all these subtle differences. Sukshma Vishayanga, very sukshma. Okay. So he doesn't have ignorance of Brahman, means he doesn't struggle to know Brahman. Kenopanishad says, Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha. Right. Beautiful sentence. So when you read the Upanishads, these are all the things which we understand. We may think that we have understood everything, but then suddenly something will come up and open up a new area, new vista. Even when we are talking, like Swami Paramatmananda in his recent Viveka Chudamani talks, he mentions at the highest level there is nothing called Jivan Mukta, Videha Mukta and all. Because why? Once you understand Aham Brahmasmi, simultaneously you must understand Aham Nitya Muktosmi. When you have full understanding that I am Nitya Mukta, where is the question of your becoming Jivan Mukta, becoming Videha Mukta and all that? Again, Jivan Mukta, Videha Mukti and all that superimposition. Will you get rid of all these superimpositions? There is no Aham Brahmasmi, not fully understood. Right? This is what he says. And suppose we want to know Brahman. If we ask the samsari whether you know Brahman, what he will say? He will say, I don't know Brahman. Okay. That is understandable because he doesn't know Brahman. And if you ask him, do you want to know Brahman? He may say, yes, yes, yes. If he's a little spiritually inclined. Many people will say, I don't know all this Brahman business. But if he's spiritually inclined, he will say, yes, yes, I want to know Brahman and I am a seeker. That's what he will say. Now, suppose we ask a jnani whether you know Brahman. A jnani will not say, I know Brahman. Real jnani. And if you ask him, do you want to know Brahman? He will say, I don't want to. Why? He will say, because I am Brahman. Why I should know myself? I know myself, I am Brahman. Only when you have an ignorance about your real true nature, you can say, I want to know. When you know that what you are, then what is the need for you to know? Right? So that is what he will say, I am Brahman. Therefore, Jnani doesn't say, I know Brahman. He also doesn't say, I don't know Brahman. When he says, I know Brahman or I don't know Brahman, when he doesn't say, I don't know Brahman or I know Brahman, that means what? He has fully understood that he himself is Brahman. And all his struggles in life, everything will stop. Atma Jnanam Nama Atma Jignasa Nivrittihi Eva. So remember Tattva Bodha, Jignasa Nivritti Visa was one of the benefits of Vedanta. Atma Jnanam or Tattva Bodha, right? So when he knows that I am that Brahman, there is no question of my knowing anything new. What happens? This Triputi vanishes, knower, known, and the instrument of knowing vanishes. Pramatru, Prameya, Pramana, this Triputi vanishes because there is nothing to know. I am the one which is that Brahman and I know that. So there is no need for any Pramanam for me. There is no object of knowing. And the act of knowing itself is not required because that is my Swarupa. I am that. That's what he says, right? So that is why he says here, Nyatri Jnana Gyeya Bhedaha. Nyatri Jnana Bhedaha Pare Natmani Vidyate. Right? So, this difference between the Pramata, Prameya and Pramatra, Pramana, Prameya difference. This difference, they are not there in the Paramatma. Na pare atmani vidyate. Right? So if the question will be, if the Tripti is not there, how can knowledge take place? That will be the question. And we have already seen Atma Jnanam is not an event. It is not a knowledge. It is just you are removing the ignorance of what you really are. That is what is Atma Jnanam about. It is not something positively you are gaining. So many examples Shankaracharya has given regarding that, Megha, Paye and all that. So many examples. What has been? There is a cloud of ignorance in our intellect, because of which all these misconceptions and the misunderstanding about what my self true nature has arisen. All that Atma Jnanam we have to do is remove that ignorance. So removing ignorance is not gaining knowledge. Once the ignorance is removed, automatically knowledge will come. That is what he is going to say in the next line. Right? So, because Atma is Sarvada Prakashamanaha Vartate. That is why he says Chidananda Eka Rupatva. So, since it is in the form of Advaya, non-dual Chit and non-dual Ananda, he uses the word Ekaha. Right? Chidananda Eka Rupatvat Deepyate Swayameva Hi. Indeed, right? So we have seen that again and again. Vritti is not necessary for illumining the Atma. Vritti Jnanam is not necessary, right? Vritti is necessary to illumine some object. So once that ignorance goes away, Atma shines itself and illumines the Vritti. Atma shines and that Vritti of that Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, it illumines. There is no need to illumine the Atma. It is only the Vritti, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti needs to be illuminated, because that understanding has to come in our mind, right? And it is not that the Vritti is required for the Atma to illuminate. Atma is already illuminating. But when the Aham Brahmasmi Vritti comes, it illumines that Vritti also. That's right. Because it is Swayam Spurati, it's self-effulgent Atma. And that is what he is saying, Chidananda Eka Rupatvat Swayameva Tat Spurati. That is what he is saying, that it is Swayameva Hi Deepyate. He uses the word, we can use the word Spurati or meaning the same. Deepyate shines, or effulgent, or it, I don't know the verb form of effulgent. Shines, you can say. Deepyate Swayam Spurati. Right? So this was the 41st sloka. So we have got 5 more minutes. We put the 42nd sloka and see how far we can go. Otherwise, we'll just read the sloka and stop and continue in the next class. Evamatma ranau dhyana mathane satatam krite uditavagat uditavaгаtirjwala sarvajnanendhanam dahe. So here he gives a very famous example of Arani Mathana. I think we saw that in doing Kathopanishad also. In some context, I don't remember. Right. I think, yeah, Kathopanishad, Arani Mathana. We saw that. Right. So here, Nididhyasanam and Phalam, both are mentioned with an example of this Arani Mathana. If you know, for those who don't know what is this Arani Mathanam, in olden days, fire was produced by using a device called Arani, which is made of wood. So there is a upper portion and the lower portion. It will be somewhat like this. Ladies take this butter from buttermilk. So they have a lower portion in which they will put the buttermilk, and there will be an upper portion what we call the matte, this thing, and they will tie a rope around that and they will do the churning. Similar process this they used to do. Both the things will be made of wood, the lower portion and the upper portion, and they will tie a rope, and they will go on, with the friction they will produce, and they will put some little cotton inside that lower portion. And in that friction, when it is there, very good friction, that cotton will catch fire. And that fire they will use for all homam, all karyas. Especially build big yajna and all that. They will use. But 2-3 years ago, when there was this Kumbhabhishekam in Anakati ashram of the Dakshinamurti, near the Dakshinamurti temple, Kumbhabhishekam was there. Those who were present, I was also present, we saw this Arani Mathanam. Swami Puja Swamiji Omkarananda ji was leading this, and he was very particular that the homa for that on the day of Kumbhabhishekam, it should be, the fire should not be lit with any matchstick or anything. It should be either, those days, either they used to take the fire directly from the sun by using some, like a lens kind of a device. That is the best way, in the Shastra say that you must take the heat for any homa, yagyam and all directly from the sun. But if that is not possible, then this Arani Mathanam was an alternative. And it requires so much of effort, I tell you. We were seeing it. It was, for almost 1 hour, 1.5 hours, the fellow was just going, and then one fellow couldn't do it. He became tired. Another fellow, very, very fat fellow, very hefty guy, he started doing it, and the fire came. Wood, in friction with wood, generates fire. Agni Tattvam, that's why everything there is Agni Tattvam. Pancha Bhuta, when we say, we have to understand that there is Agni, that's why it can produce Agni. Wood can produce Agni rather, right? So this is the example he's saying in this. So he says he's actually comparing the Atma to that Arani, right? And Atma here means Antakarana, this is our intellect, not Satchidananda Atma, we must understand. So in Nididhyasakas Antakaranam or a seeker's Antakaranam. And even though here the upper Arani is mentioned, we should understand this as Vedanta Vakyas. The Arani here we must understand as Vedanta Vakyas. So Vedanta Vakyas should be fixed in our mind, which is the lower part of the Arani. And churning is nothing but Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. Because each of them are centered in the Vedanta Vakyas only, especially the Mahavakyas. So that is what he's saying. So we'll continue in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you all. Any Shamshaya? I can clarify some Shamshaya if it is there. Viparayam, I can't do anything. Gopalakrishna Mama என்ன சொல்றாரு காதுல மேலாய்.
மாமாவோட ஆடியோ கிளாரிட்டி இல்ல.
ஆமா.
ஆடியோ கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது.
I think the problem always comes. அவர் காதுல எது போட்டுருக்காரு இல்லையா அதை எடுத்து அந்த ஆடியோ போயிடுறது.
இல்ல வீடியோ எடுத்துட்டாருன்னா சரியாயிடும். வீடியோவோட பண்ணக்கூடாது சம்டைம்ஸ்.
இல்ல அது என்னோட லேப்டாப்ல முன்னாடி இருந்தது. Once I actually attach the earphone னா அது அப்புறம் இயர்போன் எடுத்தோம் வச்சுக்கோங்க கம்ப்யூட்டரோட அந்த ஓன் ஸ்பீக்கர் doesn't start unless you refresh that particular site. மாமா சைட்டை ரிஃப்ரெஷ் பண்ணுங்க. மாமா நினைச்சிட்டு நமக்கு எல்லாம் காதுல விழறதுன்னு. ஒன்றும் காதுல விழல. You can only see your lip movement.
என்னெல்லாம் சத்தம் கேக்குறது அவ்வளவுதான்.
ஆமா அங்க இருந்து என்னெல்லாம் சத்தமும் கேக்குறது.
கேக்கல.
ஒரு பார்க்கல உங்களை.
பார்க்கல. கோபாலகிருஷ்ண மாமா ரிஃப்ரெஷ் பண்ணுங்க. பிரயோஜனம்.
நீங்க பேசுறது அவர் கேட்கல.
ஆமா நான் பேசுறதும் கேட்கலையா?
அதனாலதானே அவர் ரெஸ்பாண்ட் பண்ணல.
ஆமா கரெக்ட். மாமா இதெல்லாம் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்றாரு சீரியஸா. நமக்கு புரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
நோ காமிக்கிறார்.
அவருக்கு ஏதோ மெசேஜ் தான் அனுப்பணும். நாட் ஏபிள் டு ஏதோ பார்க்க மாட்டேன்.
அந்த நியூஸ் சேனல் ஒண்ணு ஒரு நியூஸ் வரும்.
ஆமா
அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கு. கையை கால சொல்றாரு ஒண்ணும் புரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
அந்த சைன் லாங்குவேஜ் தெரியும்.
அவருக்கு அவர் படிக்கணுமே அந்த சாட்டை.
நான் இன்டர்காம்ல கூப்பிட்டு சொல்றேன்.
இன்டர்காம் கூப்பிட்டு சொல்லுங்க.
பாவம் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்காரு.
ஆமா ஆமா இன்டர்காம் கேக்குறதா?
போய் எடுக்கணுமே.
ஐ திங்க் பேஷண்ட் இருக்காரு போல இருக்கு இன்டர்காம்ல.
இல்ல அவர் எதுவும் இங்கதான் சொல்ற.
இல்ல இன்டர்காம்
இப்ப எடுக்கிறார் இன்டர்காம்.
மாமா ஆக்சுவலி அவர் என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா வந்து அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டேன், ரெஃப்ரெஷ் பண்ணணும்னா என்ன பண்ணணும் கேக்குறாரு.
ஆஃப் பண்ணி திரும்பி ஆன்லைன்ல போணும்.
ரிஃப்ரெஷ் பண்ணாலும் இதுல போயிட்டு அந்த அப்ப என்னோட லேப்டாப்ல எனக்கு தெரியும். அதர்வைஸ் you will have to log in again.
அதான் சொன்னேன். மட்டும் திரும்பி லாகின் பண்ணி ரீலாகின் பண்ணி வரணும். திரும்பி லாகின் பண்ணி தான் வரணும். ஜூம் எடுத்துட்டு திரும்பி லாகின் பண்ணி வரணும். போட்டு பாஸ்வேர்ட் போட்டு மைக்ரோஃபோன் இல்லாம வரணும்.
இல்ல யூஸ் தி கம்ப்யூட்டர் மைக்ரோஃபோன் வரும். அத யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கணும்.
கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆடியோன்னு வரும்.
கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆடியோ ஆமா அதை யூஸ் பண்ணணும்.
மாமா சொல்றாரு டைம் எடுக்கும் அதனால சரிங்கறார்.
சரி அடுத்த கிளாஸ்
let him start ask the question in the next class.
first day கேட்டு விடட்டும்.
நாம முதல்ல கிளாஸ் தொடங்கறதே கேட்டு விட்டு if there is any doubt then we will continue with the slokas. Okay. We will close today and continue on Friday. Okay.
Hari Om. Namaskar mama.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Okay.
Namaskaram Raman.